Okay, so we are here with Ken Steorts. This is Madison Line single interview series that we're working on. My name is Crystal Bergman. I run Madison Line Records, and Ken Steorts is one of our artists, and his band has been working with us for decades. He's our premier artist. So we just wanted to pick his brain today on his Christmas single and talk about what it's like to be a creative and writing music and doing music. So Ken, if you'd like to maybe just give us a peek into your process for creating music and specifically creating the song Joy Arrival that has just been released. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, thanks for having me on, Crystal. Really appreciate being here with Madison Line Records. I love being an artist on Madison Line Records. Me personally and my band, The Beep, and The Beep Life, the larger expression of Ken and The Beep. And talking about the Christmas single, Joy Arrival, it's a special song to me because I wrote it during really sort of the tail end of the pandemic, was we were working on songs for this maybe a year ago, and a lot of contention in the world. And when I think about really whenever I write, I generally take a long walk and just start singing lyrics and singing ideas and expressing what I'm feeling. And so this song is special because really wrote it sort of one of those that comes pretty quick in the writing, just like line after line after line poured out. And then I put some music that I really love that I had hidden away for the bridge, and just lined up perfectly with this idea of God, Jesus coming to earth at Christmas time, the incarnation of the Christ child, and that being a joy arrival, and sort of set it imagined it in a way of Vaporwave meets David Bowie, late 70s space age. And so
I love it.
That was all new and different. That's the big circle of creativity in which it was formed, but I can go into more detail as we go or whatever. But
yeah, I want to unpack that as we talk. So something that's interesting to me as somebody who's really kind of helped manage you for years now is how you kind of manage being a creative person in addition to all of the other responsibilities you have in your life. You're a husband, you're a father, you're a business owner, you run a college, you also are an artist and a creative. And so what about your life and your process kind of lends you the time to continue to create as you have a lot of other responsibilities? And do you kind of, maybe a secondary part of that question, like, do you take special time to create always, or is it more just like an organic overflow of your life? How do you schedule time for that to be creative?
Well, I could talk hours about this.
Sure.
Because it's really something I do have to think about quite a bit. One thing is I demand average quality in everything. So I don't obsess over things being perfect, because things aren't perfect in the world. And so our time, people bemoan that they don't have time, and yet we spend it just blobbing away in a world of phones and media. And so I really am aware of that part of me, is the amount of entertainment. It's like a very segmented thing for me. I don't just flounder around. I have a pretty clear schedule for the day. I create best when I do have a schedule rather than just totally open. I feel like it sharpens me a bit. I could use more time away to do that, but for instance, writing while walking, one of my things I have to do to be healthy is to walk every day and to get exercise and be outside and to clear my mind. And I happen to have developed writing music and singing, as long as I'm not with somebody, two tasks at once, even though So finding that balance means giving up some social life and some entertainment, and also, try not to give up any sleep, because it's also needed for health. And really, you write from a more healthy place. I think you write healthier stuff. You can get on a binger of creativity and just, idolize the types of Mozart, Beethoven level of creativity and all this, but which is exhilarating. But the everyday in and out, scheduling your time and being faithful to that is a beautiful way to live. It's very encouraging and very energizing to do it. So,
and I love that. And I think something that really always inspires me about working with you, and one of the honors as like a manager type person is, and we've talked about this with a lot of our other artists during this interview series, is we get a real front row seat to you guys as people, and your process and what works. And something that I love about you is that you have continued to make time to create music. You're not a person that's like, well, I did that rock band thing in my 20s and now I'm just not going to do that anymore. So is there anything that you can offer to people that are a variety of ages, perhaps even like the youngest students that we engage with at Visible Music College, to, people in their later years in life where they kind of are in that phase of like, gosh, I guess I'm kind of done. And I don't believe that we're ever just kind of done until Jesus calls us home. And so how could you encourage others to just continue the creative process? And if they are kind of in a season where they don't really feel creative, is there things that you do that continue to inspire you?
Well, there's certain things that you have to get in order. And I think one of those is an appreciation for creativity. And so I'll do it in two phases. Both these things have to be in order. One is your theology, and two is your research or whatever. And it's not what you expect me to say, because you can just, I can go right to, spend 3 hours in the studio every day or something, whatever. But your theology of God creating this world, if that's solid, if like you're like, hey, I'm a deeply appreciative of what God has created, and therefore my theology is God made us in his likeness. He made us as creators and as stewards of the earth, and all the things are very basic Bible stuff, but the church doesn't accentuate very much. If you get that solid, you know that you're made to do music, and music's not frivolous. My saying in my college work is music is important. To get that perspective, you need to know God thinks music is important. God created the universe with its harmonic resonance and everything. So, and then on the research side, you must know that your brain needs creativity and open time and quiet. And every indication is we need sleep and health and creativity and the right kinds of questions to keep our mind functioning at the end of our lives. Everything about how we're made affirms that theology, and so that's kind of like a thinky think way to talk about it. But I know that I feel better when I'll just use the go for walks to keep it, within the same circle. When I go for walks, I feel better about life. And part of that is that I'm part of creation. I touch nature, I see nature, and I consider quietly nature, the created order of the universe and the molecules. And it makes for great music, because music also resonates with the math of the universe and the opportunity for lyrics to express something that people may never have heard before. I'm sure they've heard these two chords going back and forth that I use in Joy Arrival. But maybe there's a little tweak on the chords, and maybe the lyrics say something a little different to a person that's listening in that moment. And that's special.
So that brings me to this next question. I love how that naturally transitioned. You as a songwriter, you as a poet, you as a a deep thinker. Obviously, if no one has ever experienced Ken until this moment, Ken is a thinker. He's a deep thinker. And that's something I love about you for sure. And so when you are in your storytelling space and when you are creating from that viewpoint, like kind of what is your process as far as like, okay, you've written and you've created this song, it's almost poetic. How do you apply then the music to that? Or do you hear the music first and then the lyrics? Or, you teach songwriting, and you have for years. So how do you go about quickly kind of unpacking that for people listening?
Well, words, some people favor words first and some people favor music first. I tend to emphasize the lyrics. I'm in the camp of lyrics are important,
Right.
So the way I found to integrate that really quickly is I sing the lyrics, and I have, humbly, I have a master's degree in composition. So like I understand music. And so I understand when I'm like, that's just gonna sound the same as other things. I am reaching all the time. What maybe pushing myself, and like I will start singing the lyrics and they seem apparent to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I bring them back to the house and I'm, sitting there writing, or maybe I have done it with my guitar in hand, I start thinking also, what style does this remind me of? What genre emotes this properly, what I'm thinking in my mind? And it's surprising sometimes. That I think surprise is one of the beautiful things I talk about in songwriting class all the time, in leadership. I'm like, what surprised you about what you're thinking right now? I think we miss out the beauty of the creation happening all the time.
Yeah.
So I'll bring it back and say, this song was, I thought, this is going to be like a lot of major sevens.
Yeah.
And I have like this kind of F sharp major 7, D major 7. They're related differently than just tonal music. And then A major 7, B major 7, D major 7 again, E major 7, all of major 7s. And it's like, it causes it to feel like to float a little bit. And the lyrics are talking about from that genre of confusion and floating through your mind, maybe something will remain. And then the joy arrival is and the bridge, very tonal music, D, A, E, B minor. It's like all the extensions are gone and the simplicity is hammering home a beautiful message, so
it's so my favorite part. And of course, I'm in on the ground floor with a lot of this creative process. So talking about surprises, I love surprises as well. Like I love getting the rough mix from our producer Jason at American Recording Studios and being like moved to tears. That surprises me even today. Like we've worked together for a long time. So the bridge was that part for me. The line that I love so much and I keep talking about, creation receive your king. Where did that come from? If anybody will just take the time and like make it to the bridge on that song, you will be blessed. But where did that come from? It's so compelling, even in your voice, the way you sing that. It's almost like desperate and passionate and scary and beautiful, like all in one phrase, creation receive your king. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, the song is about the world being very difficult to live in, and friends, family, all this stuff breaking down, truth, all these things breaking down around you. And so there's a question in the pre-chorus, like, where can hope come from? How can I breathe? These things. And hope, can I still find a joy arrival? And so I put this very longing, flip the channel, sharp 4 over the top of a D major chord that's like a movie theme type, this longing that wants to move into the tonality. Chord there, and just saying, tenderness return. And that in the world, could we have tenderness return to conversation? Could purity succeed? And then ultimately that's not necessarily Christian, but I'm moved by the Christmas theme. I'm writing for Christmas, so I move towards Father, give your son, give your son. Father gave the son, and then a little nod to my Catholic friends. Holy Mother, give your child. Father sends your son. Sorry, Father sent the son.
Yeah.
Holy Mother, give your child, baby child, like the innocence and the purity and all that. And then just naturally to me, Holy Spirit. People write, create all of creation, which we started talking about, writing songs, all of creation, receive your King at Christmas. And could Holy Spirit, Spirit arise, and come. It's like, it's a worship song and a longing and an ask for God to come into his creation, have this actual joy arrival. And that's, it was very nearly not arriving in the studio because it's very Vaporwave meets David Bowie thing, and then does this tenderness actually arrive? And it did work, which is just it almost didn't. You heard the multiple drafts. It almost didn't work. So
no, it's that, and I think that part of the creative process, like, even if you're explaining it to a young person or a young artist, kind of in my role, what I receive as an idea file, like an audio file, and then watching what it becomes is truly the miracle of creativity. And a team pouring into an artist, where you got your producers, your musicians, everybody involved in that process. And so you have this idea, it's the diamond in the rough. And then part of that process polishes that, right? And then at the end, we get this song that it's like, oh my gosh, this is what it was meant to be. And so observing that process again with a front row seat is one of the joys of my life. And it's such an honor and a privilege to be invited in to that very intimate, often scary, vulnerable place of like, I have a song, an idea. Would you hear this with me and love this with me and listen to this with me? And so I love that process. I guess to maybe like wrap up our session, because I know you're a busy guy. The reason to even celebrate Christmas, the reason to even make Christmas music, to use this national, really truly global holiday, like I've said on a couple of our other sessions, to share the truth about Jesus Christ and his coming to the earth. That is the reason Christians celebrate this holiday. And so what about that for you as a creative person and as an artist and as a follower of Jesus? What compels you to write music that helps people kind of start to think through the question of God and a savior and what that actually means? And it's not just Santa Claus and candy canes. Tell us a little bit about that and how music can really be a tool that ministers to people.
Well, I think that it must come from a place of gratefulness. I think that's what I'll say, because that's what it seems like to me. I don't go to church because I have to, or because my parents said to, or because I want to wear a tie or whatever. I go to church because I am I'm in a relationship with the creator of the universe. And this is the greatest time of the year is, just a time set aside to celebrate the sacrifice of his son and it may be the sending, the sacrifice is at Easter or whatever, but just the sending, like the thing that's been exciting to me the last couple of years is the risk that God has taken by trusting himself to make us and to let us be here. And just, I am honored and grateful for life. And so I want to share that with people if they get a little bit more glimpse into what Jesus is about by just being a baby, that, people don't know the story anymore. And they, I'd love to just tell the story in culture, but what I really want to do is express my gratitude and let that human story, my true story, come through songs. And so I'm there first. I'm not trying to necessarily change anybody, except I'm trying to change everybody with every song I write. Like, hey, be changed. I exist. I'm humbly submitting this, thing to you and the universe. And I love God. So it's
Yeah,
going to come, and so
that's
that's purpose
exactly
is there
right.
no matter what.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, you might be, am I right in saying that you might be performing this live tomorrow? Is that true?
Yes. Friday, December 2nd, 2022 at 7 o'clock in Memphis Central Time. We are having a Christmas show. I'm performing potentially the one and only ever performance of this song, which was written for this show, Joy
Yes.
Arrival.
Yes.
And I'll perform it, and I'll try to remember the lyrics, and I'll
Right.
try to do some kind of lose my mind in the bridge by communicating the passion and the uh, at the precipice of passion. Will I break into tears, or will I break into exultation? We don't know.
Do
But
you ever fear that as a performer? Like, there's just going to be this moment where I get to this part of the song and I'm just going to be like standing there weeping. Like, do you fear it, or are you at this point in your career where you're like, if it happens, it happens? And
I love it. I've always loved human emotion, I guess. I love it. I love if I can go every night on tour and play songs, and it's very grueling to replay songs all the time. But if I can really be in a space with God, and I cried all the time in playing music. I cry all the time internally, and sometimes it comes out and you might never notice, but that's what's happening. And it's an outpouring every time that I play. I try to be there.
yeah, I love it. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time today. Everybody go check out Ken Steorts' song, Joy Arrival. And we have the link below today. And thanks for hanging out with us, Ken. Thank you so much for your time. And
Yep, thank
we'll
you.
talk again soon.
All right. Bye-bye.